Hello, this is lesson 3A of the Drivve Tech Training course. It's about the service controller. Service controller is installed during the installation, and it's sort of like the command center for a Drivve installation. So on the desktop of the server that I installed Drivve on, you'll have a Drivve administration folder. And in the Drivve administration folder, you have a couple links to tools that are going to be relevant for a Drivve administrator. We've got the conversion service tool, which we'll cover in a later video. Got the database folder, that's where the data actually resides. I've got the server folder, that's just a program files folder. I've got a text file that stores that Dr. Doc license that I use. You want to hang on to that. Got a internet shortcut for the Drivve login page there. I've also got the management console, which is what you can use to configure unique index fields and UI customizations. And last but not least, we have the service controller. So the service controller is, like I said, sort of like the command center of Drivve. Here you'll see that we've got all the services on the front screen of the service controller. We'll see which ones are running. You can also configure the port if you wanted to change the port for one of these services. The most important ones here are the XML server and the HTML server. The XML service is what controls integration with other apps, including Drivve. So if you're hooking it up to Drivve, you'd use this port right there. You can also use, if you're running the proxy server, you can run that for the other apps, especially if you're running external apps. That's what you would want to use. The other service here that's important is the HTML server. That's the web server. That's the port that the users are going to use in the browser to get to the application. A good first troubleshooting step, if anything's wrong with Drivve, is to come into the service controller and just restart all the services. If there are any errors or if any of the services will not start, you'll get in red here a little debug of what's happening and maybe why it didn't work. In the service controller here, we can also manage the licenses. We can check the settings for the system, which we'll go into. We can run the conversion settings, which will be another video. We can manage the user sessions to see who's logged on at any one point. We can import or use a self-signed SSL certificate if we wanted to force HTTPS for the access to Drivve. And then here also we can check for updates. When you check for updates, what that's going to do is it's going to go to the Drivve server and see if there are any updates available for the software, which you can do as long as you still have a valid 2.7 license or 2.8 or whatever version we're on. So I'm going to go into the settings section here too. We'll go through this real quick. Here you can set the location for the Drivve database. We'll talk about this when we go through recovery and whatnot, but this is where the data is actually stored. If you're ever going to move it, you want to use this tool. Don't do it on your own. We can also set things like thresholds and session logouts and times like that. Here in the email preferences, this is the email account that you're going to want to use to notify the administrator if there are any issues, if any of the services stop. We can also configure Active Directory login and NTLM single sign-on. What that means is that if the user goes to the website, they'll be signed on using their current Windows ID. And with Active Directory integration, that means that the users can use their AD password for access. We could also configure proxy settings if there's a proxy on the LAN. And then here we can configure the rebuild, which we'll talk about in the next video. So yeah, that is the service controller. That's your first stop for troubleshooting and basic configuration.